Bases dropped on a wall pass Wednesday here at Soccer's Morning Show. Soccer down here. And we are Soccer's Morning Show because the weather has cleared out for at least a day or a day and a half or so. Wake up and we saw this really strange looking thing in the sky. It was, well, first off, there was a lot of blue. And then there was this round thing that was generating heat. So that's back, at least for today. It's supposed to be cloudy tomorrow as the anniversary tour continues down here. We'll be back in Office HD, obviously, next week, and we'll be back getting ready for things, silly season, all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, we're here at the beach this week. If you missed out on Monday, you missed out on the Power Hour on Tuesday afternoon because we waited until the 50-mile-an-hour gusts that were here on the beach kept the house from, being stable. And so there was swaying back and forth, and it's just nasty. There's a lot of wind and sideways rain and that kind of stuff. And so that's why we ended up doing the Power Hour yesterday. Thanks to everybody who dropped in on the Power Hour yesterday. Morning, Alex. We don't have an update on Full Steam Ahead yet. Morning, Ricky. And Dell, morning from the car drop-off line after the storm. You ain't kidding. So literally it's like trying to find – all right, so here was my challenge, and I guess this is technically opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch or on the 280-character app or on the YouTube channel, and thanks to everybody who does. Once again, don't forget to use the code Soccer down here, 15. You get 15% off your purchases. They, in turn, at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, take 10%. Reinvested into youth games, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Just put in your hip pocket a little bit. And obviously, Lucas Panzica is going to be joining us in short order. And we'll be discussing things like Dax McCarty and properly hydrating and Mike Vrabel and things like that. So we'll be getting into that coming up in short order. But think about wind. And think about driving across a bridge. That's what opening kickoff is going to be. But as promised, Lucas is here. And so since Lucas actually is a responsible human being and actually has a job, that's where he is right now. See, he's all dialed up and ready to go for when he's done here parachuting in. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Morning, John. Doing all right. Yeah, I'm coming in hot. It's been a couple of days in Nashville.
I bet. And I do want to finish up our conversation about what happened yesterday and how it applies to the other football down here. But interesting stuff yesterday, official. It had been rumored for quite some time that Dax McCarty was going to be a part of Atlanta United. And now, since he has said positive things on social media about his time and looking forward to it, it is officially official. Your thoughts on Dax McCarty now coming from Nashville and going to Atlanta United, just off the top of your head?
Well, I think you guys are getting just a great guy, first and foremost, to cover and just interact with on a weekly basis. Dax is one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done. Just a good person, good leader on and off the field, and a legendary MLS career continues. So I know he is, off the top of my head, I've gotten written down somewhere in my notes and charts that I want to say he's like a season and a half of games short of breaking that record that Kyle Beckerman holds, the all-time appearances record, the all-time starts record. So, Dax has continued to sort of defy logic when it comes to how long you expect a guy to play in this league. So we'll see how he continues to do that. But as far as a ball progressor, an engine out of the midfield, Dax McCarty is, I believe, still as good of an option as you can have across Major League Soccer.
And I was going to ask about that because, where he is in his career right now, obviously the anticipation is probably here with Atlanta United. You're looking at Jay Fortune. You might be looking at Bart Schlees if he comes in from Legia Warsaw, as we've been discussing. you don't necessarily need Dax to start every game and give you 90 minutes each and every time out. He's going to be that guy that's going to annoy the ever-living daylights out of the other team. He comes in, you make the call to the bullpen with 30 to go or 20 to go. He turns into a closer, it seems, I think, for Atlanta United at times.
Exactly, and which is why I think he fell into the perfect situation down there. And that is kind of where it trended for Dax here in Nashville last season, where going into 2023, he loses the captain's band to Walker Zimmerman, and that sort of signified a change of direction as far as how he was going to be utilized. Now, Dax McCarty ended up starting just as many, if not more, games in 2023 than he did in 2022. It's kind of the way it shook out for Nashville throughout the course of the season. But I think that is kind of where it was trending here in Nashville, and ultimately they decide not to bring him back. They decide to just make the midfield significantly younger, bring back some veteran presences like Anibal Godoy and Sean Davis, but move on from Dax as he continues on in his MLS career. But yeah, I'm with you, John. The thing is with Dax, I think here in Nashville, he would have had to have a similar role of he's taken a step back on not being that week-to-week starter with all 36 games or whatever it is now, but still playing a ton of minutes. And I think that's what they would have needed from him this season. And now in Atlanta, he's in a position like what you're saying of coming off from the bullpen, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an occasional start here or there, keeping himself fresh and allowing him to contribute in what I think will be a big way for that Atlanta midfield.
All right, so you mentioned silly season so far. Shifting our conversation to hashtag everyone in. How have things been in silly season so far? Give me all the gossip, rumor, and innuendo that you're hearing. We need info, Lucas. What's going on up there?
Well, I wish I had more for you other than what Nashville has done. Look, Nashville has taken a similar approach into this offseason as they have in off seasons past, where you will see Nashville try to find value in players that fit a similar mold as guys that have contributed here in recent years. Fafa Pico, not getting any younger, right? As he gets deeper into his 30s, now going to be a Vancouver Whitecap. He is out. He was Nashville's second best contributor when it came to goals behind Hani Mukhtar. They certainly need more of that, but Pico on the way out, they bring in Tyler Boyd, a guy that can certainly play two ways that I think will fit with Gary Smith, that is younger and had a nice season for LA Galaxy in 2023. And there's no secret here in Nashville. They need a big season from Sam Surridge. If Nashville's going to do anything this year, two things that absolutely have to happen, because the defensive pedigree under Gary Smith at this point just feels like a given with Walker Zimmerman and just that core that largely remains unchanged. But they need Hani Mukhtar to continue to play at a very high level. At an MVP level, I don't know how sustainable that is, but Hani Mukhtar has high expectations around here, and they need Sam Surridge to turn into, in my mind, a double-digit scorer for Nashville as a designated player, the guy that they need to hit on with that number 9 role that they've been basically looking for since becoming an MLS club in 2020. So that's kind of the conversation around Nashville. They bring in Drew Yearwood out of New York Red Bulls, right? They kind of supplement the midfield, and hopefully Yearwood can be a guy that can progress the ball from the midfield into the final third, which I think Nashville was missing some of last season. But ultimately, this team is going to have a relatively high floor because of what they're able to do defensively. The big question is, can Sam Surridge be that secondary scorer to Hani Mukhtar, and how can the midfield open up those opportunities with the new additions?
And I know we are looking forward to seeing Sam Surridge in year number 2 there in Nashville, making sure that he can be that kind of contributor. Question from Del Schaefer from Charleston. So there is a bit of a battery tint to his question. Will Top Ryan Anunga get more minutes then?
Yeah, I think that's a fair expectation, or he'll just continue to kind of play that same role. I didn't see Nashville's moves this offseason as, Anunga stepping up as far as a bigger spotlight within the Nashville midfield. I think they value Brian Anunga, and I imagine that question coming from Charleston remembers Anunga playing for Charleston Battery. I imagine they view Anunga in the same way they viewed him over the last couple of years. Just somebody that knows what Gary Smith wants to do, is going to do exactly what is asked of him, and is going to be a good option to start, whether that's in, I don't know what in the world the status is with U.S. Open Cup, or off the bench in MLS play, and an occasional start here and there. Todd Brian Anunga, I suppose you could say, could be in a similar role to what Dax McCarty will see in Atlanta, maybe a little more dialed back, but I imagine that we'll see a pretty similar amount of minutes on any given week for Brian Anunga.
All right, so let's shift to the other football. What in the blue hell's going on with Mike Vrabel?
Well, that's kind of what we're trying to process here over the course of the last 24 hours. The one thing we know is that it's not a purely football decision, because if it was, then he would have been fired on Monday. Clearly, this is a decision that was a conclusion that was reached over the course of the last couple of days with conversations between Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams Strunk. What they emerged with was Mike Vrabel does not fit the vision that Amy Adams Strunk has moving forward with the Titans, and they move on. Rand Carthon, the general manager, now I suppose has autonomy in this coaching search. It's been an interesting couple of years, John. The Titans went from having to decide between, do we have a roster problem or a coaching problem? Well, they went with the former, and they fired the general manager, John Robinson. Mike Vrabel gets a little more power when it comes to personnel. And we come into this season, I don't think the Titans looked at it and said, well, now we've got a coaching problem. I think they said, well, we've still got a roster problem, and the coach just has a little more to do with it. If he was asked to dial back those responsibilities, I don't know. I wasn't in the room, but that kind of seems to be the general feeling here. And obviously that didn't go over very well if that was indeed the case, because if it did, Mike Vrabel would probably still be the head coach of the Titans, and he'll be, I'm sure, a hot commodity in this coaching cycle coming up in the NFL.
Yeah, kind of like maybe a team in Atlanta, perhaps, just a thought. I'm thinking. All right, I know you've got a busy day. Thanks for hopping on Bet and Lead Off. Hit the promo for me with what's going on up there in Nashville.
At Lucas Panzica on Twitter is where you can find me and everything we do on the show. And I mean, it's going to be wall-to-wall Titans coaching search in the course of the next coming weeks. And it was already going to be an interesting offseason, John, for the Titans with the top 10 pick and all the money that they've got to spend and building around a young quarterback. And now we throw in a head coaching search on top of it. So we'll see. It should be a fun ride over the course of the next few months.
And Travis Henry, that's that's another part of this whole thing. Do you draft a running back? That's you're not going to have to worry about any kind of fill. It's like, all right, no lists, no nothing. We got stuff to talk about.
Easy. And then we got soccer in about a month. So I can't wait.
Exactly. Thanks, my friend. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thanks, John. Appreciate you.
That's Lucas. And Lucas is in Nashville, and he's got a lot of ish to talk about for both soccer and American football. So, like I said, Mike Vrabel, he is going to be desired by a lot of folks. Absolutely desired by a lot of folks. And I think that if you end up with an individual like a Mike Vrabel, then you could have the philosophy of a coach that wants to hand it to a marquee running back, where you have 1A and 1B. And think about things offensively with the Atlanta Falcons quickly. You have Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson. You could bring in a coach like a Mike Vrabel who believes in the running game, and you won't have to sit there and just rely on one guy and get 2,000 yards or what have you. You'd have two solid running backs in the backfield. Get some maulers up front, and then we could figure out what's going on from there. But with Vrabel has that philosophical idea of just mashing people and trying to in having a quarterback and wide receivers that can complement what's going on. But if you've got that marquee running back there, then you can get things going forward. But no, Mike Vrabel will be a commodity in the National Football League. And so, Dell, who has say over the Falcons coaching search? That will be the interesting question. It is probably a combination of folks, a star chamber, and then you'll see what happens with Atlanta. It's probably Rich McKay and Terry Fontenot. They had a press conference when they did let go of Arthur Smith, and Fontenot's presence was not there. So it seems like it is Rich McKay in the front office and Mr. Blank having conversations, etc. Tom, who gets to cheer about Middlesbrough. Sorry, Michael Head. When Sirianni's clown show ends Sunday, we'll take him, or Monday. You'll take him. Now, I don't think Sirianni, if Sirianni loses 6 of 7 in Philadelphia, then I don't know if he makes it to Monday. I mean, honestly, if I'm Philadelphia and Sirianni loses 6 of 7 to close things out, just sit there and it's like, nope, you're done. Vrabel, here's the keys. Just make that happen there. So that's just a thought. But Vrabel, I couldn't resist because of what's going on at HD. and we'll see what happens with all of that. But right now, Mike Vrabel is going to be a hot commodity, and I couldn't resist asking Lucas about both footballs, both American and international, with everything that he sees on a daily basis. Pars, and like I said, this is all part of opening kickoff, I guess. I don't follow college football, any American football for that matter. Have people been calling for a change to the voting system for rankings? Makes no sense. May as well go to relegation in college ball. I'd love it. I'd love it if you had some kind of promotion relegation. That would be like the one change that I would make, where you could have, say, one AA teams tied to conferences, and then you could end up with, say, the Missouri Valley Conference tied to the Big 12 or the Big 10. And you could have, I think, 3 of the 16 teams came out of the Missouri Valley in the one AA playoffs. See, and I just dated myself with that reference. The FCS, the Football College Subdivision. You could bring in, I mean, imagine if you could bring in, say, for an Indiana or a Northwestern or something like that, if you could bring in a South Dakota State or a North Dakota State or a team like that that has done some serious damage in one AA and have them challenge what's going on in Division One. Frankly, I'd be a fan of it, but I think that would be fun for me. I don't know how much fun it would be for folks who would be part of the relegation discussion. But, if you had, I'm trying to think who was at the bottom of the Big 12 this year. Maybe a Texas Tech, even though they were 500. Everybody's blanking 500 these days. Abby, Michigan should not have been in the final. They cheated. Yes, you are not. And Emilio, college football's cheated forever. Not sure really what's new. It's just, I guess, the level of cheating. Tom, anybody see that proposal somebody put out there where the nation gets divided into 5 regions? I think it's Chip Kelly. Yeah. Chip Kelly had an idea of 64 teams and what have you, each region, 3 tiers, pro rel among them. I didn't see the pro rel part. I know that Chip Kelly at UCLA, he wanted to sit there and divide things one way or the other and see what's up with that. But no, Chip Kelly actually made sense for the first time in a long time. But, so we'll see. College football, but no, I could not resist bringing Lucas in to talk about both the Tennessee Titans and Nashville with what we got yesterday with Dax McCarty. If you pay attention to my tag team partner, Joe Fryhofer, on the 280 character app, the Hoff said it was going to be a busy week. And we know the social media team there makes a great point to have all of the discussions. I mean, who knew that you still had vans with upright gear shifts? So the Hoff said it's going to be a busy week for social media, and we saw Aiden Torres coming on with between two spikes. Then you had the release yesterday. No update on either Bartosz Szli's Polish Power or on Steen Gregerson. So I imagine you're talking full steam ahead. Not yet. And nothing officially official when it comes to Gregerson or Schlees or anyone else off the top of our heads and all of our research. But obviously keeping an eye on all of those kinds of things as we go today. Like I said, the latest news we had on Bart Schlees was the $5 million price tag from Legia Warsaw. And do not be surprised if it's somewhere in the middle of the 2.5, considering that their sporting director was like 2.5. Nope, 5. But that's kind of like saying, no, and then yes with a greater rate. It's like, yes, 98, no, 3. That, like we were talking about with the officials and the alleged pay raise that they wanted. The idea from pro was 5 or 6%, and the refs were like, no, 90, something like that. No, it'll come down. It'll end up being in its own little work. But Big 12 bottom, TCU, Baylor, Houston, Cincy. Okay, so yeah, could you imagine bringing in North Dakota State and South Dakota State as a part of pro rel? One goes to the B1G, one goes to the Big 12, and the Missouri Valley turns into like this centerpiece for promotion and relegation for college football. I think that would be great, and we'll see what we're staring at. And we'll keep an eye on college football and all that kind of stuff. But no, I could not resist the Mike Vrabel discussion, considering that was what I was trying to get Lucas on the Power Hour yesterday. And as it turned out, he was hip deep in Mike Vrabel stuff. And so I was like, no, just come on, lead off on Wednesday morning and you'll be fine. So great to have Lucas on as always to discuss things, the official term. All right. So what I meant to get into once again, so I guess let me do this. There we go. All right. So back to opening kickoff. Once again, Soccer Down Here 15 and our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. They in turn take 10% reinvested into youth games and youth initiatives. Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right. Down here in this part of the planet, and I'm hoping that all of you made it through yesterday and Monday night safely, first and foremost. And I hope you're okay and hope your families are okay, because it was nasty at points. But yesterday, as you know, the Earth rotates and air streams and Gulf streams and things like that. You have them working their way around the planet. Winds here yesterday were sustained 35. I mean, we had 55 mile an hour gusts, and it was nasty at times. I don't know why it is, but maybe you guys can once again help it. I have not seen. I have not. Abby, remind me. I saw your note. I need to do that. I need to have time to pull it to the side. I have not yet. So I'm glad you reminded me. Tell you what, let me write this down. New kickoff coffee photo Abby. All right. Now that I've written it down, I know to do that as my post-production work today. Okay. All right. So where we are here, like I said, I look through two walls and I have the Gulf of Mexico, and we're here all week because it's our anniversary week. Friday is our anniversary, by the way. And so technically where we are here at St. George Island, it is a tortoise preserve. And so certain times of the year, you have to pull your shades, but sundown, you can't have lighting. I wish I could, Del. I mean, I'm just saying that I have to go through three walls and then I see the Gulf of Mexico. I don't have X-ray vision. Days like this, I'd love for the sun to be, working its way through, as you can see right here with the glare behind my left shoulder. I don't know why this is. And maybe you guys can help here as we workshop this. But on this turtle preserve, you got to have your shades down. You can't have outside lighting in the summer so that turtles can come and nest and all this kind of stuff. There's a 3-mile bridge that connects this island to the mainland. And then it's another 3 or 4 to Apalachicola and downtown. So that's where we are basically. And with this particular set of weather that came through, I don't know why this is. And maybe we can think through this together. I don't know if you guys see this either, but with the gusts being what they were yesterday, like I said, it was a sustained 35 mile an hour wind. And so I had to go to the mainland to get some things. Morning, Harry. And so I'm driving from the island to the mainland, and with things being what they are and the wind being what it is, obviously I've got to have my hands on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. I can't mess around and, have them down at 5 and 7 and fiddle with the radio and all those kinds of things. So I was on the bridge, and I'm locked in, I'm focused. I'm trying to, do a decent speed. I was doing below the speed limit, actually, going across the bridge back to the mainland. I don't know why this is, but it seems in situations where whether it is rain or I was not listening to Taylor Swift. I was not, Del. I was flipping back and forth. What was I listening to last night? I think I was on a combination of First Wave and Pretty much, I live between 25 and 33 on Sirius XM. I think I had it on first wave. But I don't know why it is in weather. But in weather that is challenging, whether it's downpours or snow or ice or wind or what have you, drivers feel compelled to drive faster from point A to point B, thinking that if they get through it faster, then they won't have to worry about it. I literally was on the bridge and I'm keeping it together at 10 and 2, and I'm literally seeing people just disappearing. They're going like north of 55 now miles an hour on a bridge in a 35-mile-an-hour crosswind, thinking, I'm guessing that, hey, if I go faster, I'll get through this gust that much faster and I won't have to worry about it. I firmly anticipated seeing some of these folks either up against the cement guardrails of the bridge or just wrecking in general. I don't know why it is that drivers feel compelled to drive faster through a situation that is dangerous, thinking that it will get them to their destination that much faster and they won't have to worry about it. It was just the weirdest thing. Instead of sitting there and just doing what you're supposed to do with the steering wheel and everything, being a conscious driver, they wanted to drive faster through it so that way they could get to their destination and not have to worry about the situation going on around them. I see it a lot, and I didn't know if you guys did as well. But yeah, I saw that yesterday. It's like, dude just hits the accelerator the second we're all on the bridge, and he's gone, and I'm just waiting for him to end up getting smashed up against a guardrail because a gust hits him and the car isn't, on the bridge the way it's supposed to. So, I don't know. Like I said, I saw that yesterday. Didn't know if you guys experienced the same thing, like, folks driving fast through rainstorms, thinking, okay, it's raining really hard. If I drive quickly, then I get to my destination and I don't have to worry about it. The faster I get someplace, the less I have to worry about the rain or the snow or the conditions or anything like that. But yeah, yesterday it was just one of those things. I just saw dudes just zipping on the bridge in a 35-mile-an-hour crosswind past the speed limit. I didn't know if you guys experienced the same thing or noticed the same thing I did. Yeah, this is really open. This is really opening kickoff material. Michael, what really annoys him about other drivers in inclement weather are those that drive with the emergency flashers. If you think it's an emergency, pull over and go to the shoulder. That's, serious. Michael is spot on. Michael is spot on. Legitimately. If you're using your flashers trying to proceed through something, no, and Tom, I think you're true. I think you're absolutely right. Tom says, I don't think they're thinking, period. I think you're right on. Wait a minute. Wait, Dell Michael. Wait, Dell does the flashers bit. Wow. Okay. But that's the thing. It's like, I mean, Dell, to your point, to your point, there are folks that use their flashers, but it's not even like downpour stuff. I mean, literally, it's like manageable. It's manageable weather. And folks decide that they want to put their flashers on when they don't need to. I can understand doing it in a downpour and you can't see in front of you, those kinds of things. That I get. But there are folks that use their flashers and it's not even a downpour. True. And Dell, like I said, Dell uses the flashers. Dell admits this. Dell says, I use flashers so people don't hit me from behind in heavy rain. Absolutely true. That is understood and that's understandable. But there are folks who use it in less than heavy rain. I think that this is kind of what we're getting at here. The heavy rain part, the conditions part, understandable with the flashers. But there are situations where it's not heavy rain. And you're going, I think I'll hit my flashers. You're just like, dink. When it's not heavy rain, people use their flashers. That's the downside. Like I said, when it's not like the 40 cubits of wood and they've dumped all of the water into your particular situation. There are folks like literally when it is not even raining heavily and they'll use their flashers. I think that's the one I think we all universally sit there and go, bruh, side of the road. That kind of stuff is what we're staring at. But no, Dell, you using flashers? I've used flashers before, but that's in downpours and things where I can barely see what's going on. And I want somebody to see me, and especially from as I'm from behind. So no, there are folks that use the flashers too early. I think that's what we're staring at here. Emilio, not related to weather. He hates it when people are involved in an accident. Don't pull the vehicle over as required by law. Steer it, clear it. Not including if a car cannot be moved. Cops that respond should issue a ticket. If you can steer it, clear it. That's what we've been staring at. Too many times people, can you move the car? I don't know. For the inch. No. If you can steer it, clear it. I mean, your car is not going to look any worse from the, immediately moving it over, lane or two or off to the side or what have you. Keith Callan, God rest his soul. If you can steer it, clear it. If it helps if people at least follow the law and have their lights on when they're raining. Using wiper blades. Too many people have lights on automatic and they don't turn on in the rain. True. Is this Peter Griffin? It really grinds my gears time. Well, I mean, it is opening kickoff, Dell. I mean, that's kind of where we are. You know what really grinds my gears? Something like that. I mean, the venting of spleens. I mean, that's kind of where we are at this point this morning. But no, I noticed it. It's like yesterday. It was just something that popped into my head. But that's what opening kickoff is all about. Lucas batted leadoff, so we had to kind of push opening kickoff, and so opening kickoff was here. It looks like opening kickoff has taken on a life of its own. No real surprise. Just about driving in general. So, automatic setting for lights. Tom, it's a silly man. You expect people to know and follow the law. That's a rich one. And Abby, I never use automatic settings for my lights. The hubby hates if I drive his car and turn the lights on and shut off the automatic. I know. Right there with you. So keep letting your driver peeves work your way through. Let your driver peeves be opening kickoff. And like I said, this is a Wall Pass Wednesday, so pretty much anything's on the table. We will continue to discuss. Looking to see if Dylan Butler will join us once again on Wednesdays at 10, top of the hour. We'll go over silly season from his perspective so far to date. We've got news of the morning, and I know that we talked about, for those of you who joined in yesterday, got the discussion about Dax McCarty. We got Julian Gressel going to Messi and Friends. We, kind of got into that yesterday. But once again, since it was a power hour, I'm more than happy to reintroduce the topic of Julian Gressel to Miami, reuniting with Tata and all that kind of stuff, and where's he going to play, and all of that. Dax McCarty to Atlanta United. And so we're waiting on other information with all of the other names that we've been discussing here for Atlanta United, and all of this stuff that is all over the board. So no worries when it comes to topics kind of drifting our way back in because of what happened yesterday and was off. We were off schedule. So I'll reintroduce the topics. But Tom, I actually like your, Tom says my newest pet peeve was that those people who use daytime driving lights and forget they don't have their full lights on at night. They have nothing at all in the back. But actually, Tom, I think we may just introduce that it might be your new pet peeve. We'll just say it's our new pet peeve. I know that you wanted to say pet peeve, but autocorrect does things sometimes. So his newest pet peeve: people that use daytime driving lights then forget they don't have their full lights on at night, so have nothing at all in the back. I agree. Dell, we mentioned Ozzie Alonso a little bit yesterday with him hanging up his boots early this week. Dell was hoping Ozzy'd come back and finish his career in Charleston. I get it. Yes. Sun's peeking through apparently up in Atlanta. So, like I said, anything is on the table because it's a Wall Pass Wednesday and we've gone down the road of driving. So If Dylan can join us at 10 o'clock, then we'll talk with Dylan as well. But once again, remember, yesterday we mentioned Dax McCarty, and so I wanted to bring in Lucas to kind of give the ideas to what he was like in Nashville and what to expect here with Atlanta United. And Julian Gressel, now officially official. Don't know what his salary figure is, but it's a 2-year deal with an option for a third. And looking at the starting lineup yesterday, or the roster, there were some places that had him starting in the midfield, and I'm like, what? No. He's not going to start. He's not going to start over DeAndre Yedlin unless there's something I don't know about, or he has a camp that is just amazing. And he's not going to start over Benja Kremoski, and he's not going to start over Gregory, and he's not going to start over the dude wearing the number 10 or any of his friends. It's just, I don't. It's so, I mean, once again, let's, maybe you're looking at, schedule compression, those kinds of things, and you're trying to figure out, okay, where is he going to be and what's he doing? I just, I do not see it. I really don't. And I mean, I want to go back and I want to see how let me see if it was front page on MLS. Yeah. So it was on the front page of MLSsoccer.com. And so we'll go down and we'll stare at what you're looking at here. So off-season so far as it was written: Luis Suarez, Joseph Martinez, Dixon Arroyo, both gone. LGP official to River Plate. Traded Kamal Miller to Portland. That one, to me, I'm trading Kamal Miller to Portland for Am. I'm still trying to figure that one out. So you signed Julian Gressel. Seven-game international preseason tour. The CONCACAF Hemispheric Extravaganza, Leagues Cup, playoffs, all those things. All right, so once again, he's not going to start in net, obviously. Callender, Jensen, and CJ Dos Santos. Drake Callender will start. Right side, which is where he's going to be. He's not going to start over. I mean, even if he was going to be a left back, he's not starting over Jordi Alba. Aviles and McVeigh, you're not doing anything on the left. Right center back, he's not a right center back in the first place, so you're going to have Krivtsov starting there, and DeAndre Yedlin starting at right back. Julian Gressel would be behind him there. But when you look at that back line, Jordi Alba, Aviles, Krivtsov, and Yedlin. No Kamal Miller. You don't have Kamal Miller at left center back. I don't know. We pretty much have figured out who's going to start, but okay. Gressel's not going to start at the back. He's not. DeAndre Yedlin's going to start. In the middle of the three midfielders, Busquets is going to be your number 6. Gomez and Gregory are going to be 2 of your 8s, along with Benja Kremoski. No way Julian Gressel's playing on the left-hand side. No way. So right there, Julian would end up being backup. He would be 4th in the 2 positions of the 2 8s. And then up top, Messi, Suarez, Campagna, Farias, Robert Taylor, Robbie Robinson, and Ascona. So no. And we did the math. We did the math yesterday. On Julian Gressel. Salary of $884. And guaranteed compensation $930,000 according to MLS Soccer, to MLS Players Association. And that's the thing. Abby, you mentioned Gressel lacking defensive skills. I go back to game 3 or game 2, really. Game 2 in the playoff series against Atlanta United. Julian Gressel was exposed. That's why Mo Farsi started. And that's why Mo Farsi started the rest of the matches in Columbus's run to MLS Cup. And that is also why Mo Farsi is now being looked at by teams in the UAE. Julian Gressel is a defensive liability. He cannot dribble to the inside. I mean, if Julian's on the right wing, anytime that, and like I said, and I remember game 2 like it was yesterday. Gressel tries to dribble to the inside. He turns the ball over. The Julian that is effective is the one that's on the right wing and just bombing in crosses. But that to me means once again that you're just one-dimensional. That's it. That's all that Julian Gressel can do right now at this point. I don't see him playing on the left-hand side. And if he did, once again, looking at the depth chart of who's there for Inter Miami, courtesy of the league, I had him 4th of those positions, and the league had him playing on the left-hand side, which is not going to happen. And Alex has a point to consider. Tata wants to be able to play 3 center backs sometimes, and Gressel would play along the right without having to track all the way back. That might be it. But then, once again, you're sacrificing firepower. I mean, yeah, it doesn't have him starting all the time. But you're sacrificing firepower if you're doing something like that. Because if you go, then to me, it's something late in the game where you're sitting Gregory, somebody of, Gregory or Gomez or Sergi Busquets late in the game, something like that. Like I said, I'm just reaching for ideas. I literally am reaching for ideas. But that's the thing. It's like if you pull, it would have to be a pull from the midfield, or you slide Kritsov over, and he takes over for Aviles or McVeigh late in a match. See, Kamal Miller not being there creates so many more issues at the back. They had issues at the beginning of all of this, and it's just like, now let's just add. And that's the thing. It is an expensive option. It's an option. And, Tata and Chris Henderson and David Beckham might be looking at this like, okay, we're going to be playing, all these matches and all these different competitions. You'll have Julian come in and spot start and do all these things, but it's going to be on the right-hand side, and it's going to be doing that one thing where he's going to be looking for folks. And if Messi is open and he doesn't find Messi, Julian's going to be sitting. Miami doesn't have a cap. We'll get into that with Karim Benzema coming up in just a sec. Emilio, interesting. Gressel is one of the vocal complainers of Losada's training regiment in D.C. and the BFI requirements. Yeah. The body fat. It's like, we ran so much. But that's I look at what Miami is piecing together, and it is all offense. It's all offense all the time. Legitimately. It literally is just take the over, bombs away, and it's like your wide receivers. You're just running 4 verts. You got 4 wide, they're all running verts. And your quarterback is Messi, and he's just finding the receivers and finding the targets, and occasionally it runs an RPO. Legitimately, to me, this is 4 verts, wide open, governor's out of the golf cart. You pulled the golf tee out, and you're hauling ass. And Hutch, yeah, you don't need a defense when your game plan calls for spending the whole game on the opponent's side of the field. Yeah, what you are trying to do with your offense is pressure the other team's defense for a full 90 minutes. It's like 90 minutes of hell with Nolan Richardson in Arkansas. 90 minutes of hell. But if you get possession of the ball and you get to send it over the top or get it past that first level and you're heading back the other way, you're going to have your chances and you better finish them off. But what I would like to, new scheme emerges. All gas, what all gas, what are brakes even? No, Emilio, it's not Pineda's plan. It's not Pineda's plan. It is not all gas, no brakes. It is not. There's possession that is attached to it, and it is possession, win it back, and then take advantage of what's in front of you. But yeah, I mean, literally take the over. Like I said yesterday, it was May Day was the backcourt. Corliss Williamson, and then the backcourt of then May Day on the backcourt. But yeah, Corliss Williamson up top was the big guy, but then you had May Day in the backcourt. But yeah, you just look at Inter Miami, and this is the other part of this that I wanted to bring up. Hot Rod Lincoln of yore, tires are good and the brakes are fair. Pretty much. And this is kind of what I wanted to bring up again with, I don't know if you saw this, but Karim Benzema has been linked to LAFC. LAFC looks like they put an offer on the table for Karim Benzema. Benzema apparently is not happy about his time in the league that we neither promote nor endorse, and don't talk about when they are on TV or anything like that. We just talk about players' comings and goings. But apparently he ain't happy. He won the battle with Nuno Espirito Santo, got Nuno fired. But you're just like, and so apparently, possibly, probably, allegedly, maybe, it appears LAFC looks to have taken out an offer on Karim Benzema. Now the question is, once again with John Thorrington, and we know that LAFC is not afraid to spend any money because they spent $1.6 million that we know on bringing Gareth Bale over to play 12 matches. So I don't have my calculator in front of me, but 12 matches for $1.6 million. He started in only 2 of them, but you ended up with winning MLS Cup because of Bale and a goal late and going to PKs and all of that. So it appears LAFC wants to try to break the bank again. And we have discovered, and the reason I bring in Benzema and in all of this, that with Messi and friends, we have figured out the ways, or at least we have anticipated the ways of making something fit. And what that ends up being is being creative until the league addresses the issue with the salary cap. You've got to be creative about things. And Beckham and the league got together. They got creative. That's how you bring in Lionel Messi. I think what did we say? With NIL, we averaged it at 54 million. I think that was the figure that was released. So you're looking at something like that. Benzema with his paycheck overseas in the Middle East was pretty hefty. And at this point, if Benzema is like, I'm out, then you get to be creative again if you're Major League Soccer, if LAFC is working down this road. Of course, you can say, like we did last year, or 2 years ago, Gareth Bale can only make so much. Gareth Bale can make $1.6 million for being here for the second half of the season. And it might be something like that, where if Benzema works his way through, gets through that season over there in the Middle East, then once again, when season's over, LAFC will sit there and it's like, hey, you want to come over and, kind of hang out? Talk to your boy Chiellini. Talk to your boy Bale. See, you come to Los Angeles. See what's going on. Then you can figure out, okay, I can make this. I can do this. If I want to leave, do I go out on loan? All these other questions, but Karim Benzema. Yeah, yes, we did. We kind of, I didn't go into depth about the red card, but we will in a second. So keep an eye on LAFC. Keep an eye on creative financing. And as Emilio and others have said in the timeline this morning, Inter Miami, Messi and Friends does not have a cap. I don't think you need a cap per se if you're finding ways to be creative. And with what Messi and Friends have done to be creative, it puts the onus on the rest of folks if they want to go down this road as to how creative they can be. How would you like to be creative in an NIL deal, bringing in a high profile player? How creative can you be? How creative are you willing to be? That way you get around the current salary constraints in Major League Soccer. We've all workshopped it on this show. We need at least one more DP, and we need to loosen the constraints on the salary cap at the very least. But until that happens, you've got to learn to be creative or understand, or you've got to have a great capologist and someone who knows the rule book backward and forward who can do something like that. I don't know if Benzema happens in this window. I think if Benzema happens, it happens at the end of the season in the Middle East. It's a Bale-like deal. He comes over, hangs out. It's a cup of coffee. There you go. So I think if we go down this road, I know that there's been talk of Benzema being the next, massive dude that comes over, both in stature and in salary. But yeah, I'd love to know. And I think that it will come out later with Alba, Busquets, Luis Suarez, that there are NIL deals that are a part of this. Because, Luis Suarez isn't just going to, hang out for, $1.6 million, say, just as a number. I mean, to go over the salary figures, Jordi Alba, base salary of $1 million, guaranteed compensation last season $1.25 million. Don't tell me that there aren't other things happening. I mean, no, you don't have to pay state income tax and in the tax-free haven that is the state of Florida for state income tax. Probably room and board, having to be a little imaginative and trying to figure things out. But Jordi Alba last year, base salary of $1 million, guaranteed comp $1.25 million. Sergi Busquets, $1.5 million base, guaranteed comp 1.775. Joseph made $4 million last year base, guaranteed, put him up to 4.4-ish. Messi, base 12, guaranteed 20.4, almost 20.5. And that's the thing, is that with Miami last year, DeAndre Yedlin had a base of 825. But the number of individuals who had salary 7 figures or more, Messi, Joseph, Alba, Busquets. That's it. Joseph exits. Suarez comes in. I mean, last year you look at dudes, Drake Callender, and there are going to be guys, and we talked about who's left and who's got years left and things like that. I think 17 guys out of contract after this season alone. Calendar base salary last year, 300. Campana base salary last year, 550. Kromoski, right now he's at the league minute, 67, 360. He's going to be getting an increase. Facundo Farias, $500,000 base. Diego Gomez, $500,000 base. LGP's 935 bases off the books now that River Plate has finally purchased him. Corentin Jean, injured, 720. He's probably going to get off the books. Krivtsov at 555. Kamal Miller was making 375. Robbie Robinson at 200. Nico Stefanelli, who's probably they're going to try to find a home for him too at 400,000. Robert Taylor 276. Ulloa was at 250. DeAndre Yedlin at 825. Only 4 dudes had 7 figures last year, according to the MLSPA. So that's what you're staring at. Abby, no state income tax, but oh my God, what they pay in property tax and insurance is way more than any other state. Bed taxes for the win, according to Alex. Emilio, so we're talking about personal services contracts with the owner to bypass the team cap. I think that's where we are. And that's why I refer to them as name, image, and likeness. I don't know if they're necessarily personal services contracts, but like with Lionel Messi, it's tied to sponsors. So sponsors are the ones that are having the money attached that makes it an average. I think the number, like I said, the number quoted was like 54. So 54,000, something like that. That's 54 million. Woo, if it's 54,000 for Messi, that'd be a bargain. But yeah, the value of the deal with the sponsors boosted it from guaranteed comp plus bonus to 20 million plus. The number quoted was like 54 million. If it's a personal services contract, Emilio says that the contract should be stated as such for transparency, so you don't need to disclose the money. And everybody's once again on a Wall Pass Wednesday discussing insurance rates. Car insurance, home insurance, all those kinds of things. Hutch wants to know are there any deferred payment plans? Those could really balloon some ultimate salaries. There probably are some deferments. Would not surprise me. Nothing has been made public. But once again, I think that a part of this is the lack of transparency, because all we are left to do in these situations, we know about Messi because it was a deal that was put forth by Major League Soccer and everybody there. All those kinds of things. That we know because it was sponsor tied. We don't know about Alba, Busquets, Suarez, Bale, all these heavy hitters that came in, Chiellini, who had cups of coffee. We don't know if the deal was just the deal or if there was some other stuff that was, set to the side, what have you. We don't know that. And it goes to the larger point that we've had for a long period of time. In a lot of the other leagues, that we cover, that we look at, there's more transparency that's attached. We know in the NBA, we know what the cap numbers are. We can do trade predictors, especially, when it comes to trade deadline day. The NBA, we can do trade predictors. We can do that. National Hockey League, we know what the cap situation is. National Football League, we know the dead money that's going on with with teams across the league. We know that New Orleans is in cap hell because of all the dead money because they signed Drew Brees. Major League Soccer, we don't know that. And as we bring in Dylan Butler for a Wednesday, Dylan, we're discussing salaries.
All right.
Well, and just the general premise of the notion of all of these heavy hitters that are with Messi and friends, and we know that with Messi, it's 20, at least it was according to the MLSPA. Then the value attached to it with sponsors and such, you had some folks listing it as 54 to 60. Looking at Alba and Busquets making $1 million base, $1.5 million base. Luis Suarez coming in. Naturally, our eyebrows are raised, John Belushi style, sitting there going, this certainly cannot be what it is unless they are truly comfortable with their surroundings. And the point that I was making is that it would be great if, like Major League Soccer, if like other sports, the NBA, the NFL, National Hockey League, we knew where folks were coming from when it came to salary figures, so you wouldn't have to sit there and come up with all these NIL deals and just let the numbers be where the numbers are. And I think you're doing a disservice to the fans in Major League Soccer by not having this information readily available instead of having to fish for it and then try to figure out where all the holes are.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. It's a shame that we have to wait till like halfway through the season to get any real salary numbers, and it's only because it's through the Players Association.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like everyone else, like you start doing all the math, and like, well, Atlanta spends this, and Chicago spends that. So, yeah, if I'm 100% with you, I wish there was more transparency in that. So, you had a better idea of how your club is spending versus other teams, and also how a certain salary fits into the mix.
And I mean, because we sit there and we can do trade predictors and all these kinds of things in other leagues, and it dry. I think you're doing a disservice to the league by not letting everybody sit there and know really, was it really 1.6 that Gareth Bale got to play 12 matches at LAFC? It's great to have the heavy hitters here, but then you sit there and you're like, okay, something's got to be going on under the table. We have NIL deals with Messi and such. And the reason I brought that up is because of silly season, and it started with one of those websites that's attached to a club in the league in the Middle East that we neither really condone, endorse, or give any full credence to. Karim Benzema apparently has now been given an offer by LAFC. John Thorrington wants to go down this road again and possibly bring Benzema over. And it was yeah, $1.6 million. Karim Benzema, come on over. And when you know that it's got to be something different. Have you heard?
Yeah, I mean, clearly these are part of the conversations, right? Like, hey, listen, this is our salary cap. Here's where we could fit you in, and it's a big old but.
Oh,
here's how else we can compensate you.
Have you heard about with these big ticket items about other ways that folks are compensating? I mean, is it the room and board thing? Are we literally looking at it like we do in college football? Have you heard of the other, outside of Messi and friends? Have you heard about other creative ways that folks are letting folks, come in under salary? Have you heard about any of the other extras that are attached in times past?
No, just like you said, just that, and then the original, like the OG Messi and friends being Beckham, and which led to Messi and friends, right? So his ability to get at a steep discount, the ability to buy a club, right, or have a club, have a franchise. So outside of that, no, I haven't heard. It was funny in the early days of Red Bull. Not that it was put into any contracts, but there were plenty of Red Bull to be had for all who wanted it. So I think there were big refrigerators and stock full of all different flavors and sugar free and regular Red Bull. So which still, by the way, I believe to be a fact, it's still the cheapest drink at Red Bull Arena. Cheaper than water.
Really?
I believe so.
Wow. I did not know that. as I drift into my Johnny Carson for the morning. That's wild, wacky stuff they're doing. I did not know that. When it comes to silly season, and Jarrett's going to hop in here in a second. Let's start, since we're talking Inter Miami. We'll go ahead and discuss the new. We talked Luis Suarez, Julian Gressel to Inter Miami. You know, that has been a topic of conversation here. My biggest topic of conversation with Julian Gressel is, bruh, where are you going to play?
Yeah, I mean, other than joining, the circus a little bit there, and being in Miami, yeah, you're 100% right. Like, there's already a guy in DeAndre Yedlin who's ahead of you. I don't think you're playing up the field. So no, that's a good question. And it's weird because, and maybe you guys could answer this better since you more closely watched Gressel when he was in his Atlanta days, but like, this guy is one of the best crossers of the ball in the league, right?
Yeah.
Which is a huge value. I just don't. Why has he been so well traveled? Like, it's confusing to me. Like, you would think that's an asset you'd want to keep. I mean, obviously, we spoke a moment ago about salaries and the caps and how to sneak people through, and maybe some people are cap victims. Maybe he's a cap victim. I don't know. I do know. I mean, obviously, it was documented that he wanted to come back east from Vancouver. But yeah, it's weird that he's, what is this, his fifth team now?
98th team.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's not quite Ty Kamara, but
no, he's getting. Jarrett, what do you think?
I think a lot of it has to do with him is he's at his best when it's kind of like the Joe Johnson syndrome when Joe Johnson was with the Hawks. He's at his best when he's not the number one option. He was at his best in Atlanta when he was down, when you weren't thinking about him, when Joseph was creating gravity, Almiron was creating gravity. You had threats on the other side of the field. He does his best work when you have other people to worry about, because if you can key in on him, I don't think he's fast enough to create his own space. I don't think he's good enough in 1v1s to create his own space. He needs to be to maximize his impact, which is, as you mentioned, Dylan, it's very sizable. He needs to be almost not an afterthought, but like, he needs to be like, you're not focusing on him. You're leaving him 1v1 with somebody where he can try and move off the ball to create space, and then hit those cutbacks that he hits so well for a guy like Messi. Like, if you told me that he ends up in double-digit assists and like 70% of them are him just hitting cutbacks to the penalty spot to Messi, I would put whatever Halloween candy juice boxes you want on that bet. But I think he's just I think he'll be fine there, just depending on how Tata Martino deploys him. But I think he's at his best when he is kind of a complimentary piece, and I don't mean that as an insult.
Well, and I think too, he was at his best under Tata as well, right? So maybe he knows as well how to best utilize him. And you're right. I love the comparison with Joe Johnson. I quickly had a flashback to like I think I did it for a year. One of the wire services. I covered the Brooklyn Nets home games for like a year, and he was on that team. He was, and just as you said, Jared, he wasn't like the guy. That was Brooklyn Nets with KG. So KG was the guy, but like Johnson was killing him, man. What a great shooter.
Oh yeah, when he was here, he was the because he was the guy in Atlanta during those kind of weird years where they were terrible. They were coming out of being a laughingstock to just kind of being stuck in the mediocre era, and it was ISO Joe was the thing. And it was like it was you had Mike Bibby for a bit running point. You had Joe Johnson, then you had like a young Jeff Teague, Josh Smith, the most frustrating basketball player I've ever seen in my life, who could physically dominate anyone on the court, but then decided that he just wanted to turn into Ray Allen. like it was a very weird time. But yeah, Atlanta just leaned on Joe Johnson. He was fine. I mean, they got to playoffs doing that. But yeah, he wasn't at his best. I think if you leaned on a guy like Russell, like you'd be okay. But I think if you can get him in a situation like this where he is going to be down the pecking order, he becomes an absolute problem.
Well, he will certainly be down that pecking order. That's
no
sure.
doubt.
Like I said, I don't want that to come across as like an insult to Julian. It's just it's just
numbers.
Not, and also the thing in sports that we go over in other sports, especially, is not everybody can be the top dog. But if you can just kind of float out there and be the other option or the guy supplying, you have a hell of a time and you can be insanely successful.
Mm-hmm. The other move that has happened in recent order, Dylan, Dax McCarty to Atlanta United. We had Lucas Panzica, the play-by-play voice for Nashville, on batting leadoff this morning. He was our Rod Carew this morning, and broke everything down from his perspective about what Dax was in Nashville and what he's anticipating in Atlanta. When you saw Dax McCarty come across Atlanta United's bow, what'd you think?
I think it's a good move. I think there's a need in his position, especially if you start to think about guys who will likely be leaving in the transfer window, right? So I think in that sense, it's a smart move. Obviously, a terrific veteran. He's very, very good in the locker room as well. It's funny. He's everything I think Atlanta probably hoped they would have gotten from Ozzie Alonso, but Ozzie was hurt the whole time. So Dax, knock on wood, hasn't really had that problem. He's been a pretty healthy guy. So I think why not? Like, take a swing towards his way. I love the move. I think he's still got a lot to give, and similar to what Jared was saying before. Like, I don't think he's not gonna be relied upon. I don't think, at least, to be a 32 game starter, right? So there'll be some opportunities there for him to show why he's one of the best to play that position in MLS.
Jarrett, what's on your mind?
And I wanted to go back to Miami because I don't know if y'all hit this off the leadoff or what. I wanted to ask you about the Miami roster versus that schedule, because my God, like, I get that it's anytime you have Messi, you kind of have a traveling circus.
Yes.
How concerned should we be about those guys holding up just over the immense amount of traveling games they're going to play over the 2024 calendar year?
Yeah, they are like me at Mohegan Sun, just chips all in. Here we go. It's gonna be fun. That's I know, John. You and I spoke about that last week a little bit. I don't to have the full traveling circus, the whole Messi and Friends experience. I don't know how many games that's going to be, because you've got to factor in Leagues Cup as well. You're probably looking at what they're going to play 40 plus games this year, certainly, right? Like somewhere in that. Champions League, right? They're in Champions League as well, or Champions Cup. Sorry.
Yeah, they are in the Hemisphere extravaganza. Yes.
So 23, maybe optimistically looking at it, but I mean, certainly there's places at Suarez. I mean, he's not playing at Gillette Stadium. I don't know how good the turf is at Mercedes-Benz.
Oh, it's so, yeah.
So I think a lot of places that have turf, I'd imagine, considering his injury issues and history, not happening. I think Busquets held up pretty well, right? Alba he got hurt obviously with Messi as well. So
right.
It's a good question for sure.
Well, but I mean, I would think
there's got to be a juice box for that, right?
Oh, no doubt. I would think that you front load everything. I legitimately, this is what I think. as followers of the sport in other countries, and especially in the lower divisions. In the lower divisions, if you're trying to get promoted, you get out to that hot start. And what in taking that frame of reference, I figure you're going to see the Super Friends starting an ish load of games up front. And they're going to try to rack up as many points as they can going into schedule compression, going into international windows. And they're going to come off with this hot start, and everybody's going to sit there and go, "Oh, they're going to go undefeated. It's going to be that, it's going to be like Arsenal." And then they're going to try to hang on to their position at the end because of schedule compression, because of all the competitions, because of all those other elements that were attached to. I think that early on in the schedule, you're going to see a starting lineup that's going to see Messi, Suarez, Alba, Busquets, you name it, whomever. Bring in Eric Cantona or whatever. But you're going to see the all-stars up front in the schedule. They're going to try to rack up as many points as possible and then try to hang on and work their way through schedule compression and all these other competitions. Like I said,
what could be interesting is what their look at League's Cup will be interesting.
Yeah.
Because, they won it this past year. Messi had just got there, so obviously he's going to want to play. But I'll tell you, look, there's a nice carrot to be had there to win that.
Mm-hmm.
You even heard Tata say it, right? Like by winning it, by going for that, it hurt them later in the season. Do you more or less kind of punt on that, right? You play your, 2-3 games?
Yeah.
In the,
stage, yeah.
Yeah, go young on that, punt, and now you've got 2-3 weeks off in the middle of the season to at the warmest part of the season as well for these guys to get rested up.
Ooh, I like that. I like that idea. I think that's something I think you hang on to that. And I think that later in the year, I think that and regrettably, I think the game against Messi and friends here in Atlanta is a midweek game late in the schedule. I think that if you've got a midweek game, and of course, obviously game state and schedules and standings have a play in this, but I think that if it's a game in the midweek, do not, as a guidepost right now, anticipate that you will see full Messi and friends on display in your venue because of everything that we're talking about.
By the way, how about SKC? That's an interesting move. I'd love to be in that conference room where Vermees was pitched this idea of let's go out of our comfort zone and our very very sizable home field advantage to a larger stadium, and they're marketing it as, hey, it's going to be the loudest. We're going to get all the Kansas City fans. Well, hang on, you're opening the door to a lot of Messi fans in there. I don't, and I know a lot of Red Bull fans are like, oh, I wonder would that mean MetLife? Like,
Wow.
If I'm a marketing guy, or I'm sorry, if I'm a marketing guy, I think you like it. But I think if you're a sporting guy, you stick to your guns with where you play, right? So
yeah, you would think so. But hey, go for that. Go for the cash. If it's there, then if you go to Jiha and Arrowhead or whatever you want to call it, but you want to go and you got 65,000 and you got the opportunity to sit there and sell out that stadium and make bank on something like this, and then watch him not play.
Yeah.
Shoot. But how many more teams do you think will shift that idea this year and go to the local football stadium and American football and do it like they're doing in Kansas City, where they're going from Children's Mercy to Jiha or GEHA or whatever they want to call it now, because I've heard it both.
Every time you're saying that, I keep thinking you're saying jihad, and you're getting me worried.
Yeah.
No, jihad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, jihad. Well, you could have MLS fans do a jihad. It doesn't work. But how many more football stadia American football stadia would you anticipate doing this kind of thing? Because they do it for El Clasico already. They move it to the Rose Bowl, and they'll have 80,000 folks there just because it is what it is. How many more Messi and friends move would you anticipate here?
Well, I mean, think about sort of the stadiums and who could do that, right? Like, I think Houston would be a prime candidate, right? Like,
Houston and NRG,
right?
and it would be a warm up for 2026 and the Copas and things.
I don't, as a rival, I don't see Orlando doing that. Red Bull would be an option again with MetLife. NYCFC already plays in a larger stadium anyway, right? So not a concern there. Same with New England, Cincinnati.
You play at River. You play at Paul Brown. You play at Riverfront, or the new Riverfront.
Yeah, I don't know. My gut is I don't think it's the start of a trend.
Okay. Oh, by the way,
and will Taylor Swift be at that game? By the way,
absolutely.
The wild part's going to be is if you start seeing Messi end up having to rest home games because hey man, they're selling out an 80,000 seat stadium on the road. If you're going to rest, you got to do it here in Miami. Mm-hmm. Go to the beach, go have some pizza, go watch the boys play.
And by the way, he's already going to be at MetLife with Argentina in Copa America, so probably another reason not to go that route if you're Red Bull.
Since we're mentioning Messi and friends on a Wall Pass Wednesday, our friends at Talk Sport headline: Forgotten Aston Villa man Philippe Coutinho could become Lionel Messi's new teammate at Inter Miami. Currently on a season-long loan to a team in Qatar, Al Dahail, but it has not gone according to plan. 6 league starts, 419 minutes in Doha. According to AS, his limited game time could see the Brazilian ace be reunited with Messi this January. So Philippe Coutinho apparently is now in the mix. So you could have Coutinho, Suarez, Busquets, Alba, and Messi for Messi and friends, Dylan.
And Gressel. Another chance for Gressel to show that he doesn't have to be the guy.
Does Talk Sport just have a 20-sided die? Do they just have, or even a collection of them, and they just roll it every morning and just see what can we speak into the world?
They're quoting AS in Spain. I mean, it's not even the 20-sided die, man. Where you're trying to figure out, okay, do I walk into the room, roll the dice? Do I pull my weapon, roll the dice? Oh, it's an ogre. What do I do? I cast a spell. That's Talk Sport to us.
No, if they see an ogre, they roll the dice and they want to see how much money Chelsea's going to give to the ogre to come play.
Yes. Oh my God.
Well, if we've learned anything about Miami's entrance into MLS, it's that as soon as Beckham was introduced as an owner, you knew this was going to be the rumor central. Of like it used to be the Galaxy and then a little bit LAFC, but it is all about Miami, man. I kind of feel for their PR team, just fielding all these calls about all these wild rumors that are out there.
Well, and then the access, because traditionally, and this was something that Thierry Henry had mentioned when he was a player in Major League Soccer, the access that the media have on a daily basis to cover clubs. And it's probably something that the media teams here in the States are learning. It's like, okay, we're going to act normally, but then you have, as Hutch refers to them, the Messateers. You got Messi and friends who aren't used to this kind of access every day, and wanting to stick microphones in people's faces and things like that. I mean, it's a challenge for the media relations side for all of these clubs with the international players.
Yeah, dude, I interviewed Thierry Henry. Red Bull didn't have their training facility yet. They were at Montclair State University.
Ooh.
I interviewed him in a trailer that the Red Bulls had set up. It was like a media workroom / interview room. I remember that. I remember it being cold, and it was like, this is bizarre. This is like one of the greatest players ever, and we're in this like trailer interviewing him. But listen, I've also been around this league long enough where I remember there used to be such a thing as pregame access, like, so I would be in the locker room and they'd be playing, soccer, tennis in the locker room, and you go up to whoever and it was unfiltered. You weren't with a PR person. It was similar to like Jared, we were talking about NBA before. It's similar to like NBA or MLB where, the clock was winding down. You had this access before. All right, you're out, and but yes, that's when the players were mostly American players, right? Or not the upper echelon European or South American players, where the access is obviously completely different. So it is a interesting tug of war, that you kind of have to play there, where you as a PR person in MLS, you want to get your team as much access as possible. But you've got to balance it with players who, the year before never did interviews.
And the fun balance therein. You sent me an email with a clip from the IG, the Gram, or the Insta, whatever the kids call it these days, where you're calling hoops from Varsity Media. So Varsity Media on the IG. And it's always fun to hear you with the highlights. So what is going on these days with you there at Varsity Media with the high school stuff and all of the big matchups that you're covering with underneath a roof, and what's going on with MLSsoccer.com and what's going on with OSDB Sports?
Yeah, and that was the game with Boogie Flan that I was telling you about last week.
The amusement park, Boogie Flan.
So here's the funny thing, right? So I know, John, this will definitely resonate with you. Dealing with similar age kids there in Atlanta, right? So Boogie Flan, had to do my research for this game. He's number 18 in the country by ESPN in his grade. He's a number 2 point guard in his class, right? He's likely going to be a McDonald's All-American, 5-star recruit, going to Kentucky, had like 28 or 30 offers before that. And all the blue bloods in college basketball among them. Steps on the court on the road at the Ravens Nest in the Parkchester section of the Bronx. First minute, what do the fans start chanting? Overrated. Like, come on. Can you not wait? Like, maybe if he has 6 points by the fourth quarter and you're leading by 16, maybe start the chant then. You don't start it in the first minute of a game. Now, he didn't go off, but he did get 21 points, finished around the hoop, was big down the stretch. Danny Carbucia, his partner in crime, he plays for the, I think, U18 Dominican Republic team. Very, very good point guard. Forgot his jersey at home, so he had to change the number, but he brought his game to the Bronx and had 20. So that was a fun one. Last night or yesterday afternoon, they moved the game up because of the inclement weather here in the tri-state area, but that was a fun one. Next Tuesday, we've got another big game. St. Francis Prep, Christ the King. Lamar Odom and Speedy Claxton, now the head coach at Hofstra, right, among the alums. Jose Alvarado, right now.
Atlanta Hawks legend Speedy Claxton.
Yeah.
From the dark ages.
Even darker than the Joe Johnson days. All alums of Christ the King, so it's a great basketball factory. So that should be a fun one Tuesday at 7:30. MLS, silly season going on. Might have there might be. I'm not sure, John, how long you're on today, but there might be some breaking news around noonish.
Oh, okay. 11:05. So keep an eye on
with an outbound transfer. We'll say that.
Outbound transfer about noon, so we'll sit there and we'll put those down. Okay.
And for OSDB, I think we're gonna Suarez is gonna have himself a press conference on Saturday, right? So I'll break that down for OSDBsports.com.
Oh, goodness gracious. It's the busy season, although the busy season takes its different forms. Dylan, my friend, it's always great to catch up with you when you can. Inclement weather and you're fighting. Oh, before you go.
Yes, sir.
When it comes to driving This was
Yes.
one of the things that we talked about in hour number 1.
All right.
For me, since I'm down here at the beach this week because it's anniversary, we had the storm that's your way now. People feel compelled to drive faster over a bridge in a 25 or 30 mile an hour crosswind because they think it'll get them there faster. We've had people talking about having the emergency flashers on when they're not necessary, when folks are driving on the freeways. What is your largest driving pet peeve?
There's a few. I would say that combination. When it's storming, like last night, coming home, it was just nasty, right? So, you got to go middle lane and just go slow, right? But then you got people speeding by in the left lane, speeding then through standing water, and now they splash your windshield, and that's dangerous. And but it's the opposite as well, right? Beautiful weather.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the middle or left lane, and the guy's going like 45. Like, what are we doing, dude? Like now that's as 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 dangerous as a guy going maybe 75,
Mm-hmm.
right, or 80. So you have to now get out of maybe the left lane to try to go to the middle lane and zoom around that. So I would say too fast and too slow, but probably too slow really bugged me. Because if I'm in the left lane and someone's coming up behind me and they want to go faster, I'll get out of the way, no problem, go right ahead, keep going.
Yep.
But it's the slow pokes who aren't in the right lane that really bother me.
Okay. All right. Just figured out asking that. And so when you're off, I'll ask Jarrett. And so Jarrett, because this seems to be our Wall Pass Wednesday question of the day. It has gravitated in that direction. Be safe, my friend. We'll catch up next week.
All right, boys.
All right. That's Dylan. And all right. So Jarrett, driving pet peeve, what?
It's either that or flashers on in the rain.
Okay. Because we've had flashers on in the rain. I don't mind flashers on in the rain if it's like biblical rain. But there are folks that will put their flashers on and it's just like barely above a sprinkle.
The thing I always say, and I get mad about, is when you're driving, don't be polite, be predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't stop traffic to let 2 cars go.
Okay.
Just because you're being overly polite, be predictable.
Okay.
Be easy for everyone around you to predict.
Okay.
When you're driving, don't be erratic. Be predictable.
Yeah. Alex says the lower the visibility, the less you should use your hazards unless you were stopped.
We used to, when I worked in traffic, we used to watch the cameras all the time during they're like bad weather, and you'd see like people just toting on along and like torrential. You get those summer storms here where you just get like a sheet of rain for 35 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd see people like just turtling along in the right lane with their or not even in the right lane sometimes, with their flashers on. And it just, we hated it. Because I mean, what it does is, if you've ever seen like traffic engineering graphics,
yes,
people put together on like how congestion starts, the way like you get one person who gets like sideways, not literally physically sideways, but the decision making gets sideways, and it has an accordion effect for an extended distance. So just doing that, it creates more problems. If you're that uncomfortable with it, just get on the shoulder.
Yes.
There's no shame. No one's going to pull over and roll down their window in a torrential downpour and start laughing at you and pointing and shouting like Nelson in The Simpsons because you pulled over onto the shoulder because the weather is too intense to drive in.
Yes.
If nothing else, they're going to go, well, that person made that decision.
Yes, absolutely. We've discussed some of the most recent transfers. I know that we haven't, that you haven't been on in a while to discuss transfers. Timbers have re-signed Eric Miller. Apparently, Portland is also signing every keeper known to mankind, getting ready for the 2024 season. New England has bought out Tomas Vatslik, who they brought in last season. And Vatslik was supposed to be the keeper that was going to be there to to make sure that the loss of Petrovic was not going to be a loss. They exercised the buyout on the salary budget charge. So Petrovic out, Václav in. Václav did not make an appearance for the Revolution, and then they signed Henrik Ravas from Widzew Łódź in the top division in Poland. So Tomasz Václav turned out to be a big old goose egg for the New England Revolution.
They did, but I'm also like, I forgive me if I'm like, I'm forgiving of New England, because look at the business they have done over the last few years. Nobody bats 1,000. They knocked some of these moves out the damn park. So if they miss on one or two, it happens. I'm not going to crucify them over missing on that, because of the hits they have had and the way they operate financially requires them to hit more than they miss. Again, you don't bat 1,000. No one does. Yeah. Everyone misses.
Yeah, they do.
They did damn good work.
Yeah, and they signed Shankali, which was the biggest no-brainer in the history of Earth. Making sure that he got signed, considering we got to see him with Revs 2, with Bayraktarovic, and then Shankali got adjusted to life in Major League Soccer. He goes up, plays with the first team. He gets locked in there. You'd better have signed him, and you did. Cole Bassett to a contract extension in Colorado, a couple of minor moves with Austin. We talked about Toronto signing a Honduran midfielder who I think is 74 years old. Georgi Mihailovic, officially official with the Colorado Rapids as a part of.
Yeah, that's one. Next week we'll need to make a note to talk to Dylan about. Man, is what the hell is Colorado doing? And I don't even mean that in a mean way.
The Rapids, sir.
Yeah, I don't mean it in a mean way. They're doing work, man.
I'm stunned that the Rapids are doing these things. So I don't know what has gotten into them. And I know that a lot of folks are obviously not necessarily complaining that you're bringing in Georgi Mihailovic as a part of what's going on. Tommy Thompson re-signing with San Jose. We mentioned Portland signing every keeper known to man. They brought in Trey Muse and James Pantemis. Zach Steffen is a part of this with Georgi Mihailovic as well as a part of the inbound. The Galaxy, I thought that this was kind of funny. The Galaxy signed John McCarthy. LAFC penalty kick stopper extraordinaire John McCarthy. So McCarthy goes across town after all of the stuff, bringing in Lloris, letting Crépeau go. Max Crépeau looking for a home. I think he's close to finding one, officially official. But the release from LAFC bidding McCarthy adieu. John McCarthy has signed with another club. Basically, thank you, John McCarthy. John McCarthy is signed with another club, and it's a picture of him in his LAFC gear. So LAFC being all kinds of city petty, John McCarthy is signed with another club. That was how they announced it on social media.
I mean, look, if the club across town isn't going to keep a guy and you need him, then you get him. And it feels like Cowboys even needed somebody between the sticks who can juggle chainsaws for a while. And you go get McCarthy. If it doesn't work perfectly, he's still a backup. He's still a good dude to have no matter what.
There's still the discussion about Jonathan Bond. Does that mean that Jonathan Bond is going to hang out? Is this a 1 and a 1A situation? That's what you're staring at with LAG. But I just thought it was funny. He signed with another club. Yeah, he's not here anymore.
Yeah, he goes to a different school.
Yes, he goes to a different school now. When you look at what Atlanta United has done so far, and we still have not heard any update on Polish power Bartosz Szliz. We're still at the 5 million, the 2.5, no 5. It's like 3.5 to 5%, no 90. That's where we are right now with Bartosz Szliz. Last we heard was the sporting director say not 2.5, 5, and we're anticipating full steam ahead. Thank you, Alex, for that one. Gregerson apparently is on this side of the Atlantic. We don't know. There was no flight aware bringing him over, and no one greeted him at the airport like they did with Stefan
Begging you, MLS Digital. I need you just go to Opelika and find someone, or go to like, just go to one of the message boards like TexAgs or Tiger Droppings, or whatever message board you want in the SEC. Scout out a bit and find the one person who speaks to you in their ability to track flights, and bring them on a freelance basis to do flight tracking for potential transfers.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Because the people who do the fans who do that on some of these message boards are like NSA level.
Absolutely.
Like, and somebody pointed out it's easier to track in the South. It's easier to track college football flights because so many of these teams are in smaller places. Tuscaloosa,
Right.
Auburn's a small town. Fayetteville, Arkansas in itself is its own unique existence.
Yes, that's true.
Like College Station, like they're not flying out of Atlanta. No. it's trickier there. They'll find a way. I think that if you like, hey, come freelance for MLS and track flights, they'll find a way to make it happen.
Oh, that'd be amazing. You see, now if you did something like that, if the first social media team that was a business entity could do something like that to track MLS flights a couple of months out of the year, I think that would be fantastic. Yeah, that would definitely be the way to go. David this morning, he says his pet peeve: sitting at a light next to a dinged up car, then watching him turn too wide or go straight from a turn lane and cut him off. At least the dents are some warnings. Yeah, I could see that. I could see definitely being that kind of angry and that kind of chapped and what's going on. So with Atlanta United, it's Derek Williams. Doug has said that Derek Williams has been signed. So we're operating on that premise. So you have Derek Williams in. You have thoughts on Schlees, Gregerson looking likely, McCarty in, Hosechu out, Ibarra out. We don't know the price tag that's attached to that, to Rosario Central. We do know it's a year with a purchase option. Santi Sosa to Rossing looks like that's $4 million. It's close. It's not, I don't think, officially official. I don't think we've seen the presentation at the dais with the jersey and all of that stuff. We haven't seen that yet with Santi Sosa. So right now, those are the ins and the outs that we're seeing with Atlanta United right now. And it's maybe another piece. Like I said, if you can bring in Schlees or a Schlees-ish individual, someone like Bart Schlees to help out in the midfield, is that the only piece that you think that Atlanta United is quote unquote missing right now?
I think so. And if they don't, because I know the Schlees thing, I feel like has been a very one-directional rumor.
Yeah.
And it's kind of done the thing that Lobjanidze has done, where it's kind of ebbed and flowed.
Yeah.
But Lobjanidze, I felt like it had more juice to it because you had Doug screaming into the abyss to anyone that would listen correctly, mind you,
yes,
that Atlanta wasn't in on Rossi.
Yeah.
And you had the rumors coming out of Turkey with very legitimate sourcing that it was going to happen, but it kind of ebbed and flowed.
Yeah.
This one's ebbed and flowed, but it feels like a little bit differently. And I don't know if it happens, but I also think that if it doesn't happen, they'll look around. But it would be a very Garth Lagerwey thing, I think, if it doesn't fit and they don't love it right now, to wait till summer.
Yeah.
And you ask, and you could always just go get like another guy to provide depth there. Mm-hmm. But if you just said, hey, we're going to see what we can get with Jay and with Dax, playing in that midfield, playing in a partnership with William Ba. Mm-hmm. Because Schlees is a free agent coming up. Yeah,
he's coming up in the summer. That's when his deal is up, and that's why Leisure
So
Warsaw.
if he wants to come here, and the thing they'll keep sticking in my head is if he's open to coming here, but they don't want to move him right now,
sign a
wait till
free.
the summer. Yeah, sign him on a free in the summer.
Yeah, you get you sign him on a free, sign him to a pre-contract, and
Mhm.
then Leisure Warsaw gets nothing, as opposed to wanting 5 when modern day value is at 2.5.
Yeah, and I don't look like Legia Warsaw is not a huge club in the grand scheme of things. They're bigger in Poland, of course.
Yes.
But if they are looking at their team and saying, we think we can make a legitimate run at at hardware for Europa Conference League, if we think we can make a legitimate run at this, then who am I to tell them, you should sell one of your key guys right now? If you think you can make a run at it, you do it, and you risk losing him in the summer. But that's a decision that only they can make. Can't make it for them,
Yeah. You're looking at Molde, I think, is their next opponent on February 15th, is what they're looking at in your Europa Conference League. Right now, looking at the table, like I said, they're in Conference League. They're going up against Molde, and I need my Polish league standings here. So I was trying to sit here and find it, and it's like, no, you can't have it. I don't want to sit there and fish through everything and try to figure out where the standings are in the Ekstraklasa or whatever they're calling it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like all I want is standings. That's all I want. All I want is standings. Instead of having to click like 9 different things in the Ekstraklasa. Yes, I accept. Okay, right now you're 5th in the Ekstraklasa, but you're in a fight because the Ekstraklasa table, you're a point out of 3rd, and so it's you really could be getting back into European competition with Schließ as a part of this discussion. But what do you do? I mean, do you sit there and take the money that's there available, or do you risk losing Schließ on a free? Dell wants to know when MLS players start training as a team. Should be
very soon.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Next
and
couple of
maybe
weeks.
It's like I don't know for sure. This would be a question for this would be a question for other people who are more closely associated with clubs themselves. I don't think they do like an OTA kind of things. Yes. Or a voluntary workout kind of thing, but I think if you're on the roster, you can go to the training ground whenever you want. Probably.
They're not going to sit there and say, no, you can't come and train.
Yeah.
You can't use the workout facility, sir. Your badge does not work yet. You have not paid your $10 a month. No. So no, Rich, we're trying to track down a transfer and a location and how things are in standings with a particular club overseas, and having to click 90 different things to try to find something in an English language where I'm trying to find Polish Ekstraklasa first division standings. That's where I was in my chasing. That's what was going on.
So let's see. Let's check. Let's see. Atlanta United schedule. That's Atlanta Falcons. Why did I pull that up? Why do I want to be sad right now?
I don't.
Oh, man, it'd be great if they just weren't.
Yeah, Atlanta United has not released its full preseason schedule yet. Other teams have.
We know they have January 27th with Birmingham Legion.
Yes.
So that is not only less than a month away.
Yeah.
What's today? The 10th?
Yeah, 17 days to play.
Yeah, so you have 17 days before your first friendly that is on the books. Mm-hmm. I'd imagine they would be in very soon,
like the next week,
to start doing organized soccering things together.
Yes, yeah. So, I mean, you've got that. Like I said, teams are announcing, what their preseason schedules are like and all those kinds of things. I think Nashville actually announced this morning what their schedule is going to be like. So you're seeing this information trickle out. I would anticipate at the very least business picking up, quoting old JR, the beginning of next week, middle of next week, because You're talking 10 days out to try to figure out what your teams are going to do. Rich, Philadelphia Union players return to market this Sunday. Are they shopping? They return to market. David says it'd be nice if we had the national holiday of goalies and defenders report like we do in baseball. I love that.
That would be great.
I love it.
Should it be like keepers and set piece specialists?
Keepers and specialists report.
Yeah. And you just like so you go out there and you get, like when WSB and Fox 5 go down there for pitchers and catchers reporting, and they get those shots in the freezing tundras. Because, by the way, next week the temperature is supposed to be in like 15 degrees.
Correct.
In the morning.
I know.
Just out there next week for specialists and keepers report, and it's just Josh Cohen being miserable, frozen to his spot, while Brooks Lennon is just slinging in corners with a ball made of ice.
Clank. You said it's like you try to hit the ball and it goes like four inches forward after you hit it because it's a solid brick.
So Rich has it as January 14th for the Union. I would imagine it's going to be about the same. And going to Florida is a good decision. I know Atlanta. I don't know that Atlanta's doing that this year. I know they went to Bradenton that one. I think it was the first season.
They went to IMG. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because as my wife often reminds me when I get angry about the weather here, we live in a place that has mild and very wet winters. As the last few days can attest to. So when you stand outside and it's 45 degrees and windy and raining, that's because you live in Atlanta.
Yes. The lovely and talented Katie, who is in charge of everything in the household. Let's see. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's hit that. Crystal Palace might be up for sale. It appears, according to our friend Miguel Delaney, that possibly John Textor might be looking to move things forward and sell his majority stake in Crystal Palace. If that is in fact the case, then if someone wants in, you're probably going to have to buy out Steve Parrish too, and that might take a fair penny to make sure that that things are going to be done in a manner that is acceptable for all financially. Middlesbrough beat Chelsea yesterday, and I know that Michael Head has kept his head down about that. And it was a 1-0 win for Middlesbrough in the Gummy Bear Cup. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. We talked about yesterday Jordan Henderson and Ajax. Jordan Henderson possibly going there because if he came back to England after his time in the league that we neither condone nor endorse, he'd end up with a £3 million tax wage. And so if he goes to Ajax, he wouldn't have to necessarily pay it. The club not pressured into selling Henderson in January or allowing him to leave on loan. Set to have talks with Steven Gerrard and sporting director Mark Allen. Jadon Sancho is going to return to Borussia Dortmund on loan. Can't afford to make the deal permanent. Bayern Munich and Dragusin. That is, Jadon Sancho is confirmed to Manchester United exit ahead of the Dortmund switch. Dragusin snubbed a double your money Bayern move to keep his word in going to Spurs. So Dragusin, that came out this morning. That he is going to Spurs. Let's see. This I thought was pretty funny. Victor Osimhen's agent, Roberto Calenda, respond after Kvaratskhelia agent predicted that the Napoli striker would move to Saudi Arabia this summer. Quoting the agent of Victor Osimhen, Roberto Calenda, quote, "Everyone must look into their own home and have respect for the work of others. It is not correct to talk about the future of other players. This creates problems and misunderstandings as well as unfortunate predictions. The alleged words of agent Mamuka Juheli are bad, superficial, and unacceptable. These words create problems for my player Victor Osimhen with Napoli fans without any reason or real of the reality. We've just signed a contract renewal, and Victor's only wish, in addition to the Africa Cup of Nations, is to help Napoli. Everything else is rubbish. Don't piss off the wrong agent. Don't piss off the wrong agent." PSG President Nasser Al-Khelaifi wants Kylian Mbappe to stay, and apparently Mbappe has foregone 70 or 80 million in a loyalty bonus. Nemanja Matic, unhappy at Rennes, wants to return to the Premier League. PSG working on a deal to sign Joshua Kimmich from Bayern in January. Newcastle will reject any offers from PSG for Bruno Guimaraes. Villa's Philippe Coutinho, we mentioned that, but that was also attached to the 3-letter paper. So, and AS. So take the information how you wish. Cole Palmer wanted to leave Manchester City on loan, but was told he could stay or you get sold before he joined Chelsea. Fulham monitoring AZ Alkmaar striker Vangelis Pavlidis, who's been watched by Chelsea, AC Milan, and Barca. Leicester manager Enzo Maresca wants Inter Milan midfielder Stefano Sensi. Juve planning to meet with English winger Samuel Ealing Jr.'s reps to discuss a new contract for the 20-year-old. Current deal runs out in 25. Barca have paused talks over Joao Felix, who's on loan from Atletico Madrid. Tottenham want Middlesbrough's midfielder Hayden Hackney, who scored the goal yesterday in the Gummy Bear Cup to beat Chelsea. He also has interest from Manchester City, Manchester United, and Liverpool. What to watch and where to watch it. And business is kind of picking back up because we are on the flip side of the holiday window and those kinds of events. So the soccer on the TVs today is Turkish Super League, Fenerbahce and Konyaspor at noon. That's on BN and BN and Espanol. If you don't have BN, you can pick it up at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. You get Fanatis, you get TIC, you get CDO, you get For the Fans, you get Liga 1 Max, you get all the BNs. You can pick it up there. ESPN2, Supercopa Semi, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid at 2 o'clock. Deportes has the simulcast. The Zone at 3 has the French one, D1 Arkema, Lyon and Paris FC. The Gummy Bear Cup semis at 3 o'clock, Liverpool and Fulham. And the Supercopa is also on the Plus as well. Paramount Plus has the quarterfinals in the Coppa Italia. Lazio Roma at noon, Milan and Atalanta at 3. So business is kind of picking up. I have no earthly idea what Dylan is thinking when it comes to a possible transfer at noon. He has me intrigued now, Jared.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only thing I can think of is if it's a league-wide thing, like I think Austin's been linked with a move out.
Okay.
It wouldn't be a transfer because he's out of contract.
Right.
But when do we get word about the next step for Carlos Vela?
That's another thing. That's another one that
because I'm assuming Vela's going to play somewhere next year.
Yeah,
like,
there was talk.
There
was talk that Real Sociedad might be interested in picking him back up on loan for the remainder of the season. I haven't heard anything about Vela elsewhere. I haven't heard an MLS rumor, gossip, or piece of information. The only piece I heard was returning to Real Sociedad. Apparently, River and Newell's is today as well, according to Tom. So probably get that on Fanatis. You know what I'm saying? But I have not heard anything about Carlos Vela and where he could go. Oh, or Denny Bouanga, because Denny Bouanga also.
Oh, there it is. That might be it. Because Bouanga. Yeah, I mean, was it like? And this is the thing, and this is not like directed at like Tom Bogert, who is the mustache on the inside for everything MLS.
Yeah, really.
Because he talked I think a couple of weeks ago about Bouanga's future with LAFC seems pretty chill, and now it seems like it's not, and that's not Tom's fault. I mean, he's going off of what he's got at the time, and it seems like it sounds like yesterday you get the word that Bouanga's like, I want to be somewhere that's not here.
Yes.
And I get it, man. He came in. He had the first weird year in LAFC where he kind of underperformed his. He kind of underperformed what the underlying numbers said, and then he has last year where he's just insane.
Yes.
But what? Maybe he's decided. I'm going to go bet on myself to Europe. It's not anyone's fault if they were thinking, he's going to say, because you haven't heard anything to imply that he was going to go, and then he's like, hey, bye.
Yeah.
Get me on the next flight out of LAX, please. So it's hard to pin those things down, and silly seasons are really hard to pin down. So, man, what if Denny Bouanga is the news?
So tomorrow's Thursday, right?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be a
I don't know what day it is. Don't ask me.
Dude. It's like I didn't have my phone with me. So tomorrow's Thursday. That means that we'll have Nico Moreno at 10:30 to discuss what's going on with silly season and such. And we are also doing tomorrow afternoon a 1v1 with Philip Poole, the new head coach of USL Super League in Super League Carolina. So we'll be catching up with him tomorrow, catching up with the new manager for USL Super League Lexington. That will be next week when everybody comes back from Anaheim, California. And we're also tracking down our friends from Connecticut United. I didn't have to ask you about that. Connecticut United looks like they're going to be the 5th team in Next Pro Independent.
Yeah, man. Let's see. I know people were mad at the name. People were mad at the font. Like,
yeah. People are always going to be mad at fonts and names. We know this.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, there is an entire subsection of people who have very strong opinions about names and fonts, and that's fine. Like the logo crowd, that's fine. There's always going to be something to be. If you really want to be mad,
yeah,
there's always something that you can find to be mad about.
Yeah,
that's between you and God.
Yes.
That's not my fault.
No.
Let's see what it looks like. Let's see. We'll see what their plans are.
Yeah.
Stadium side.
It's live, work, play in Bridgeport. It is live, work, play, and they've gotten the okay to start building it, and they're looking at the 25 season. So my guess is it's probably going to have to be something modular to start and go from there. But they got the okay to do it in the state's largest city. So Bridgeport and CT United, they're coming to the fore. But it'll be interesting to see how that continues to grow. And like I said, when it's fun when we have Michael Parkhurst on Fridays, when he and Greg alternate for our friends at Beyond Goals to find out what's going on with Rhode Island FC and how they're building things and putting pillars in the ground and what their plans are, and seeing how it's going to be at Bryant, which reminds me, we probably need to go up there. We probably should do a show from up there and then do something like that. But to see what's going on with CT United now that they're going to be doing the same kind of a thing with like we're seeing with Rhode Island. So it's going to be intriguing to see, to say the very least. Kansas City Current have named their coaching staff alongside Vlatko. So that one is taking shape as well. That's going to be fun. We're going to continue to roll through all this stuff. So Nico's joining us 10:30 tomorrow. 1v1 with USL Super League Carolinas tomorrow afternoon, and Friday will be Beyond Goals and getting you ready for the weekend. Any last thoughts, sir, before we go?
I don't even know if it's really a last thought, but I'm not hanging the success or failure of anything on this off season on Shleesh. Like you've already, it sounds like, I think your co-host in Stadium mentioned that it's probably going to be a busy. That it's going to be a busy week in the Atlanta United world. So gird your loins accordingly.
I don't want to know about your loins being girded, sir. We'll be back at it again 9:05 tomorrow morning. Thanks to Lucas Panzica for batting leadoff. Thanks to Dylan Butler for coming in. As always, it's great to have Jarrett come in when he can, when the real world doesn't intervene, and we can discuss things that way. But we will be back once again from the beach and from places all over the place.
Is the beach still there?
I know. We got to look. I don't know, but apparently the rowdy dog apparently was eating some of the beach this morning.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I mean, he does not quite understand the beach. He just doesn't. We don't. He understands that mommy likes to go take a walk on this strange surface that's next to very loud water. And I mean, yesterday we had waves and whitecaps that were 8 to 10 feet. I mean, it was wild yesterday. But they went out on the beach this morning for their little moments of zen, and he's eating sand. I mean, he's like a 4-year-old. He's eating sand, but it's because he's never experienced it before, so he doesn't quite necessarily know what to expect. And so when his stomach gets upset and we have to give him very bland food for the next couple of days, we'll know that it made that kind of an impact, but he doesn't quite understand it. He knows mommy likes to be there, so he goes with her to protect her, but he'll eat sand instead of actually just walking on it and having it go between your toes and be a dirty dog.
Hey, man, that's better than growing up. We had a dog who used to try and catch and eat bees.
Hey, wow.
Yeah, plenty of days you'd like go check on him. How's he doing? Oh, his face is his muzzle is the size of a German U-boat.
Yes. So
because he ate a bee and then it stung him repeatedly.
Yes. So
or a yellow jack in that instance.
Yes. And so that's what we're trying to acclimate the rowdy dog to the beach, but that's the adventure that we have here this week, the 1 week out of the year. So for Jarrett, I'm John. Thanks to all of you for hanging out with us as we discuss things on a Wall Pass Wednesday. Jarrett, if you would please send us home.
Mucho platio.
What he said. Back 9:05 tomorrow morning.